Hello there. I have a feeling you didn't come to this video because you're feeling happy. Maybe you're watching it at 2 or 3 in the morning when the whole world is already asleep and you're the only one still awake, trapped inside a storm of thoughts. I don't know your name. I don't know exactly what's happening in your life right now. Maybe you've just lost your job and you feel completely useless. Maybe the person you love the most turned their back on you and walked away, leaving a hollow, aching emptiness in your chest. Or maybe you simply feel stuck. You look toward the future and all you see is a thick fog. You don't know how you're going to live tomorrow or how you're going to pay those bills. It feels like the sky is collapsing on top of you, doesn't it? I understand that feeling. Believe me, I truly do. I have lived on this earth for 91 years. I have lived through economic depressions, through wars, and through heartbreaking tragedies within my own family. There were nights when I lay in bed, my pillow soaked with tears, begging God to let me fall asleep and never wake up again, because reality felt too painful to bear. But today, I am sitting here, a 91-year-old woman, still alive, still breathing, and still able to smile, to tell you one simple thing: you are not going to collapse. This storm did not come to kill you, it came to shape you. So sit down here, take a sip of water, and listen as I tell you about the times I truly believed I was finished and how I survived them anyway. The first great storm struck when Harold and I entered our 50s. That is the age when people believe they should already be settled, owning a proper home and having savings set aside for old age. But life is never that smooth. In the early 1980s, an economic crisis hit. Harold's small business went bankrupt, and in just a few short months, we lost everything. From a comfortable middle-class family, we became people whose home was taken by the bank. I remember clearly the day we moved out of that beloved house and into a shabby, cramped rental apartment in a poor neighborhood. I had to sell our belongings one by one. My daughter's piano, the oak dining set, and even sentimental pieces of jewelry. Everything had to be sold just to buy food. At that time, the strongest feeling inside me was not hunger, it was shame. I felt like a failure, a loser. I couldn't bring myself to face old friends. I kept my head down whenever I went outside, afraid that someone might recognize me. I cried and asked Harold, why did we work hard our entire lives only to end up with a perfect zero? Where did our worth go? But it was in that damp, miserable room that I learned my greatest lesson about money. You see, money is like the tide. It rises and then it falls. That is the law of nature. When the tide goes out, it does not mean the ocean is dead. I realized this. I lost my house, my car, and my money, but I did not lose these hands, and I did not lose this mind. A bank can take your possessions, but it cannot seize your ability to work or your will to keep going. If you are watching this video right now and you are buried in debt and hardship, please lift your head up. Never confuse your net worth with your self-worth. Being broke does not mean you are worthless. As long as you still have your hands and your breath, you still have a chance to start over. We were able to rebuild, and I believe you can too. The second storm did not strike our finances. It struck straight at the heart. It was the storm of loss. 10 years ago, when Harold passed away, I fell into a black hole of despair. You know, the most frightening part wasn't the funeral or the tears. The most frightening part was the mornings. For a brief second after waking up, I would forget that he was gone. I would turn to the other side and almost say, "Harold, wake up. It's time for coffee." And then the truth would crash down like a heavy stone, crushing my chest. The pillow beside me was ice cold. The house was terrifyingly silent. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I pulled the blanket over my head and wished I could disappear right then and there. For the entire year that followed, I lived in anger. I was angry at life. I was angry at God. I would look up at the sky and scream, "Why? Why me? Why him? Why would you cruelly take away the one person who made me happy?" I watched elderly couples walking together in the park, and I felt jealous. I felt that life was deeply unfair. If you are losing someone you love, or if you have just been through a painful breakup, I know you have asked yourself the question, "Why me?" Thousands of times, haven't you? People around me would pat my shoulder and say, "Don't be sad anymore. This will pass. You have to move on." But today, I want to tell you this. Don't try to move on from your pain. You cannot walk through it, and you cannot jump over it. The pain of loss is not a puddle you step across and forget. It is a shadow, and it will follow you for the rest of your life. But don't be afraid. Learn how to walk with it. I came to understand that pain is, in truth, the price of love. You hurt this deeply because you love this deeply. Pain is love that no longer has a place to go. So, if your heart is shattered right now, be proud of it. It means your heart is still alive, still capable of feeling, not yet turned to stone. Go ahead and cry. Go ahead and hurt. Don't force yourself to be strong right now. Time will not make the pain disappear, but it will help you become strong enough to carry it more gently. Take a look outside your window. Life works exactly like nature. It has 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The greatest mistake we humans make is believing that our lives should remain in a bright, endless summer. We want to always be successful, always happy, always in bloom. But nature does not work that way. Winter is inevitable. No one can stop winter from coming. And your current hardship, your unemployment, your loneliness, your feeling of being stuck is the winter of your life. I often look at the old oak tree in my backyard during winter. It stands bare. It looks ugly. Cold winds beat against it relentlessly. It looks as if it has completely died. But is that tree dead? Not at all. It is doing the most important work of the entire year. It is drawing all of its life deep down into its roots. It is resting. It is gathering strength to prepare for the powerful new buds that will burst forth when spring arrives. Without the bare branches of winter, there would never be the new growth of spring. My dear friend, I know how you feel right now. You feel dark, cold, and suffocating. You feel as if the whole world is shoveling dirt onto you, burying you alive. You think you have been buried. But listen carefully to what I'm about to say. You have not been buried. You have been planted. The difference between being buried and being planted is this. A seed needs darkness and the pressure of the soil to crack open and begin to grow. This dark season is not the end. It is preparation for a new, more radiant version of yourself. Be patient with your winter. I know hearing philosophies about seeds or spring may sound comforting, but I also know that reality is far more brutal. There are times when the pain is so overwhelming that even breathing feels like hard labor. You lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, how can I endure this pain for another 10 years? How can I pay off all this debt in the next 5 years? When you look too far into the future, fear takes over. It's like standing at the foot of Mount Everest and staring up at its towering peak. You immediately want to give up because you feel so small. So here is my survival secret, the one thing that carried me through my darkest days. Stop looking at the mountain peak. Look down at your feet. I have a rule I call just one more day. When I'm trapped, I forbid myself from thinking about next week, next month, or next year. Those things are too distant and too frightening. I give my brain only one task. Peggy, you only need to survive the next 24 hours. Just make it to tomorrow morning. If 24 hours still feels too long, break it down even further. Tell yourself, I just need to get up and brush my teeth and wash my face. When that's done, praise yourself for doing well. Then tell yourself, I just need to finish this bowl of porridge. Then, I just need to get through this afternoon. Pain is like a massive boulder. If you tried to carry the weight of 10 years on your shoulders, it will crush you. But if you break it down into small pebbles, one day at a time, you can carry it. And do you know what the miracle is? When you keep surviving, one day at a time, one day you open your eyes and realize you've already come a very long way. You've reached the top of the mountain without even noticing it. So promise this old woman, don't worry about your whole life. Just live today well. Look around you. The rain out there will eventually stop. The sun will rise again. That is the unchanging law of the universe. No storm lasts forever. Long ago, I once heard an old tale about a king. He wanted to find a phrase with universal power, a sentence that could humble him when he was victorious, and also lift him up when he was in the deepest despair. And so, the wise men engraved these words onto his ring, "This too shall pass." I have carried that phrase deep in my heart for the past 91 years. When I held wealth and success in my hands, I reminded myself, "This too shall pass," so that I would live humbly without arrogance. And more importantly, when I lost everything, when I was lonely, when I was in so much pain that I wanted to die, I reminded myself again, "This too shall pass." This pain is not permanent. It is only a dark cloud passing across the sky of my life. I want you to know one final thing. The pain you are feeling today is not meaningless. One day, when you have come through this storm and are standing firmly on your own feet, your scars will become the map that guides others. This painful experience will turn you into the one person who can truly understand and comfort someone else who is as desperate as you are right now. You will become a lighthouse because you have survived the darkness. So please, don't give up. Don't let this storm knock you down just before dawn arrives. This world needs your story. This world needs your strength, and I believe you can do it. Stay strong, my resilient friend. Goodbye.